Taunee English. I thank you for joining us, and I'm reminding you that if you want to laugh while satisfying your NAR's Code of Ethics requirement, come to our next session of Real Estate Court, the People's Court for you, the agents. I am Taunee English, and welcome to our Real Estate Court, the People's Court for agents. The cases are real, but the realtors, principals, and judges are not. Our first case is the case of take my buyer not, or was he really your buyer in the first place? Doesn't a buyer have the right to choose to have the listed agent write up their offer, especially when she can guarantee that his offer will be accepted and he will get the home of his dreams? But apparently, his original buyer's agent and broker says no. They can prove that they have the right to the selling broker side of the commission because they have procuring cause. So, let's see how our wonderful panel of judges will rule on, number one, were there any code of ethics violated? 2, were there any MLS violations or rules broken? And 3, does the original buyer broker have the right to receive commission on a transaction they did not perform any services nor close escrow on? So we shall see.
Is everybody ready for the facts?
Yes!
This case is called Take My Buyer Not.
I am the presiding officer of this hearing. And on my left here is Leider and Steve Manavi, who are also both presiding officers for the Professional Standards Committee. So this is what I would consider a all-star panel.
Mary presented our offer to the seller. We have no evidence. And also when we were asking her to, if we could have a backup offer, then she never responded. So we really don't know whether she presented the offer, she did talk to the seller about our offer or not.
We went on then to purchase another property, and then we found out that she was in contact with my buyer, wrote a very similar offer to our offer. It was only a $10,000 difference in price for the same property. She made the clear statement that we have in an email that if my buyer worked with her, she would have gotten a house. So my buyer felt compelled that he needed to work with her in order to get the house of his dreams.
And do you have a copy of your contracts that you can submit to the panel?
Yes.
Could you bring those to us, please?
Zach and Sherry did not have a buyer's representation agreement in place. Therefore, the buyer had every right to work with my agent Mary, who got him the house, despite the fact that Zach and Sherry had submitted an offer previously on behalf of the buyer. The buyer was not under any obligation to work with them and had every right to choose which agent he wanted to work with. He chose my top producing, the best in the area, Mary. Okay.
See, I'm going to say beware of bad agents who don't represent clients effectively. It's not my fault that he doesn't know how to do his deals. It's not my fault he doesn't know how to write his offers. It's not my fault that he doesn't follow up and CC himself when he's submitting an offer. It's not my fault that he didn't even call the buyer and ask, hey, what happened here? Everything is my fault, and I think that's inaccurate. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your evidence and testimony regarding this matter. We will next go into executive session and deliberate our decision. You'll be notified by the association of our decision. This hearing is officially adjourned and you are excused. Thank you.
That she did have an obligation to let him know that the buyer had contacted her. Those two things weigh very heavy with me, and I would give the commission to the good agent.
Our second case is the case of, was that a yes or no on me, Airbnb in this unit? BB, the Airbnb investor, thought he was the renting per night type of landlord, but found out per the HOA that nope, he was to be the long-term commitment kind of landlord, and he is not happy. He's not happy about the $37,000 loss of income due to converting to a one-year lease, and he's determined to pass along his unhappiness in the form of a lawsuit against his buyer agent and buyer's broker. The agent and the broker's response? Not our problem, you should have read the CC&Rs. So, let's see how our wonderful panel of judges will rule on 1, were there any code of ethics violated? 2, were there any MLS rules broken? And 3, are the buyer's agent and broker responsible for the projected $37,000 that BB, the investor, lost? We shall see.
This one's called Bee the Airbnb Buyer.
Bee, would you like to present the facts of your case, please?
Well, would you like to hear the whole miniseries?
First of all, I'm a member of the public, so I am not a real estate professional. I rely on real estate professionals to guide me through transactions, and I expect them to be ethical. Well, everything is not fine. I wound up buying a property that I had assumed met the criteria that I wanted, only to find out that no, I could not, and I was penalized. I had to change to the leasing prospect, and I lost money.
I think it's a problem that Linda's not here.
This has nothing to do with the other agent.
Well, it has a lot to do with the other agent, because she's the one that started this whole mess and misled all of us by her statement in the MLS, and it was wrong. And I was misled, and my good buyer was misled, and this whole thing has been a mess.
Is that your opening statement?
Well, that's part of it.
Would you like to continue?
I want to be clear, I'm still interested in selling you those other 4 units. And I want to make sure that we have an outcome that allows that to take place. So I want to work this out with you.
I think that there's an important thing in this case here, which is all of you should put into practice, besides not violating any of the ethics violations, is definitely putting in the receipt for reports into your standard forms. I think that that's a huge thing, because if for some reason the client hasn't read them, when they get that form, it triggers them to ask questions.
There was cases where there was an agent who was not a realtor. They were just licensees, but they were members of MLS. And so they tried to get away with the fact that, hey, I never signed up for these articles. I never said I was going to be honest. I'm a licensed agent. I never said I was going to follow any of these rules. We don't care. So we went back to the MLS, and MLS has adopted. So by becoming a member of the MLS, now, whether you know it or not, you now agree to certain rules and regulations that kind of mirror what the Code of Ethics is.
Any other questions on this? Yes.
So, just for fun, but to speculate, I know you're an attorney, it seems to me that BB, in this case, after winning an ethics verdict, could go after, in a civil claim, the entire value of the property. Would you agree with that?
I don't know that they get the entire value of the property because they have some income, but I think they would get a significant amount of money because of the lost delta between the rental and the, don't you agree? Yeah.
Well, let's say thank you to I just came out of the mock trial seminar. I thought it was extremely informative. It was humorous. I wish to never work with agents like the Larry and the Laylas in the world, but again, very informative. They did a great job giving us insight of what's compliant and what's not.
This was the most fun session for me. I got a lot out of it. The information was presented in a very fun way that just kept my attention and kept everyone involved. The whole audience was really intrigued by the whole court format.